Thank you very much. Good evening, dear friends, and welcome to yet another edition of I've Got a Secret. We have much to be accomplished on this evening's program, so let's start right off by meeting the members of our panel in their usual order. There is Bill Cullen, and there's Betsy Palmer, and there's Henry Morgan, and there is Bess Meyerson, and that's the bunch. Now that we know everybody, as if you didn't know him before, I would like to welcome our first contestant. Will you come in, sir? If you have a seat, sir, please, and we'll identify you and let our panel know what your name is and where you are from.
Major General Benjamin D. Falloy, U.S. Air Force retired, Washington, D.C.
General Falloy, Washington, D.C., and if you'll whisper your secret to me, sir, we'll show it at the same time to the folks at home. And in case you think that he's doing something tricky with the earpiece, it's just that the desks are a little further apart tonight, and it makes it just a little bit easier for communications. He's listening to what you're saying. Now, panel, the clue concerns something that General Falloy was, and we'll start the game with Betsy Palmer, please.
General Falloy, is this something that you were recently?
Well, it may be.
General Falloy, I can't give you orders, sir, because you're a general, but we can't fudge. This wasn't very recent, was it?
Not, well, say about 50 years ago.
Glad you gave that away. Now, is this something to do with the service?
With what?
With the service?
Yes, I think it has very much to do with the service.
Does it have to do when you were a very young man in the service?
It was, about 30 years old.
30 years old. Were you involved in West Point?
Were you involved in West Point, is the question.
No, I came up in the ranks, enlisted man.
$20 down, $60 to go. We go, please, to Henry Morgan.
Sir, this thing you were, was it when you were an enlisted man?
No, it was afterward.
Was any other military person mentioned in your secret?
Well, there were 3 of us originally mentioned.
But not in the secret as it was stated tonight.
Ha. Were you one of a group?
I was.
But again, the secret as stated tonight does not mention or infer any other individual.
All righty. Were you in this country when you were this?
Yes.
We've lost 40 and we have 40 to go. We go, please, to Bess Meyerson.
General Falloy, if we say it was 50 years ago, or rather you did, that would bring us down to about 1913. Did it have anything to do with the First World War?
No, it was prior to World War I. It was also prior to 1913. It was in 1909.
Ah. 1909. Were you in the service, or you were in the service at the time?
Oh, yes.
Did it have anything to do with a tour of duty?
Well, yes, in my aviation duty, although I'd been in the service 10 years before that time.
All right. Were you up in the air at this point?
Yes.
And
$60 down, $20 to go. We go, please. Pardon?
he said generous.
He is
Really
generous.
giving
I
up
have trouble keeping him from telling you the whole thing because he wants to open up to you. Let's go to Bill Cullen.
General Falloy, were you the first pilot in what was then the Army Air Force or the Signal Corps Air Force?
Yes, I was the first military pilot.
First United States military pilot. There's more?
Oh, yes, that's only the beginning of his life. He's done everything.
You were also the first commander of the Air Force.
I was the first commander of the 1st Air Squad of the Air Force.
Yes. That's not it either.
There's more?
Oh, yes. Well, Major General Benjamin Falloy has had a rather distinguished career with the United States Air Force, to put it mildly. For starters, he flew the first Army dirigible. Then from that time, Wilber and Orville Wright first taught him to fly. Wilber and Orville Wright. He became a one-man Air Force, literally, because from November 1909 to April 1911, General Falloy was the entire United States Air Force. It was the whole thing. Nowadays, they have generals in charge of paper clips, but he was the whole thing. Yes, Henry?
General, did we have the largest Air Force in the world at that time?
We did not. Who was larger?
We had the only one in the world at that time, consisted of me and one airplane, 8 men.
Now, I think everyone remembers his first airplane ride, but yours was particularly memorable. Will you tell us about your first ride?
First flight I made in an airplane was on July 30th, 1909, when we made the final acceptance test for the Wright airplane. We made 3 world records with it. Cross country, 5 miles out and back, speed 42.5 miles an hour, and altitude 400 feet.
Isn't that...
And he was operating at that time, not as a flyer, because at that time he didn't know how to fly. He was navigator for Orville Wright in the first test plane, the one they were trying to sell to the United States Army. And based on this flight, the Army decided to buy the airplane, and they gave it to General Falloy and told him to get it down to Texas and learn how to fly it. And they gave him a budget of $150 to do it with. Our Air Force budget for that year was $150. And General, how long did that $150 last you?
Well, it lasted me about a month. It's supposed to run for 4 months, but I used it all up and crashes in the first month.
He finally spent $300 out of his own pocket. It was a very expensive airplane to maintain, because every time he'd take it up, he'd crash it again, you see. And whenever he got stuck, he would sit down and write to the Wright brothers, and he would say, this is what I did, and this is what happened, and what do you think I ought to do instead? Now, during this period, while he was experimenting with the airplane, he added a few things to the basic design of the plane. Would you tell us about the things that you added?
Well, the first thing I added to it was a belt. The second flight I made after crashing the first time, I took it up and got almost thrown out. Landed. An artillery officer came up there, and I told Fred I wanted to get a belt to keep me in that damn plane. He said, what do you want? I said a strap about 4 feet long, something I'd lash myself to the seat with. That was the first safety belt invented.
What else do you think he thought of putting on the airplane? Wheels. Up until then, it had no wheels. They were catapulted off, you see. Now, I would have thought that was one of the first things, you know, almost before you think of the wings. But no, he was a fellow who thought of the idea of putting wheels on it. And he was also the gentleman who installed the first wireless so that he could communicate with the troops in the field. Isn't that correct, sir?
That's right.
And when the War Department authorized the rating of military aviator, General Falloy was the first man to qualify for this rating on the basis of his flying experience, and he received what have now become the familiar silver wings of the Air Force, the first pair a little over 50 years ago. I cannot tell you what an intriguing evening it's been. He fought in the Philippines, got shot with poisoned arrows. Everything has happened to this man, and look at him. We're proud, sir. Indeed. Marvelous man. We'll be back with you again in just a moment, but first let's watch this.